All for one and one for all. Three perspectives on product development with Scrum is a story of three individuals who, just like musketeers, came from different parts of the world and had different professional backgrounds. They had diverse skill set and past experiences, but despite all of the differences, they came together to create a team that would be something more than just the sum of its parts. This is a story we actually didn't make up, like Alexandre Dumas. His story took place in 17th century France. Our was inspired by true events that happened at Curate Retail Group, where our team was formed. Curate Retail Group is one of the biggest video commerce and e-commerce companies that operate all over the globe, but here in Krakow, we develop some parts of the software for the group. And this is the place where our team was formed. A story would be incomplete without main characters. My name is Mateusz Trawiński, and I'm a Scrum Master at Curate Retail Group. And when I joined the company, my assumption for the role was that I'm about to teach the others what Scrum is and how to do it. But I managed to challenge my assumptions to find them fundamentally wrong.
Hello everyone, my name is Rodrigo Nicolas Castro. I'm from Argentina. I'm a product manager with Curate Retail Group, and I've been with the company for a little bit over 3 years. And yes, when I joined the role, my assumption for the product owner role was that it really entails keeping the developers busy and making business happy. So building as many things as they want you to build as fast as possible. And you have plenty of engineering resources in our hands, so you don't want to waste them. And that pressure was on me, so you always have to keep them busy, right? Well, I was not very happy with that, so I started wondering, is there any different way of doing this? What's your take, Robert?
Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Bogacki. I am software developer at Curate. I'm working at the marketing department. And my assumption for that role when I was hired was that I will be just coding. And let's find out later on during this presentation if this was a right assumption. So today I would like to share with you a story about product development from the perspective of the software developer. And I would like to share with you how our team managed to shift from some bad practices into good ones, and how on a daily basis we are trying to improve our workflow. So everything starts from the grooming session. And on our grooming session, product owner comes with the story which says, safe conversion of non-payers into payers. If we look into details of that story, it says that as a marketing specialist, I want to know which customer was formerly non-payer, so I can measure success of success of marketing campaigns turning non-payers into payers. And so far it's looking good, and more or less we know what has to be done. But then, if we go deeper into details of the story, and we see acceptance criteria, it says that timestamp of conversion should be saved in person table when conversion from non-payer to payer happens. Timestamp in marketing platform is saved in user table. In that case, marketing platform is third-party system which we used for marketing purposes. And for example, it says also that some existing data replication process should be used to transfer data to third-party marketing platform. And this process was created for some other purposes. So there is a problem with that story. It just contains too many technical details, and not all the business requirements are clear. So what is proposed in that story? So product owner probably thought that, okay, you guys have this service, and in this service, conversion happens from non-payer to payer. And when it happens, just save it to person table. I know you have this table, and you can save it there just as additional, in additional column. And after that, when it happens, just send the data to the third-party system. But how development see how development team sees that story, it's a bit much more complex. Like there are a lot of questions coming to our heads, and for developers who been working with that projects, it's not that simple. So there are a lot of questions coming during that session, during that grooming session, like for example, why data should be saved in person table, why should we save data in user tables in third-party system, and why should we use data replication process for that? Other questions are there any other markets that should be supported? Are there more services where conversion might happen? And are there any other metrics that should be supported in the future? Also, should we create some common library to prevent code replication? And what if, for example, we send data to third party and this system is not available at the moment? So, what do we next? We are ambitious developers, so development team starts implementation. Well, maybe rather not in that case. So what do we really do next? Development team proposed to take a step back, and we request a research story. We would like to take some time to think about this, how this will be implemented, what will be the technical design for that. After that, we discuss this story in a separated technical grooming meeting within the development team. And technical grooming is a weekly meeting where everyone is invited, but there mostly engineers are discussing technical details of implementation. And in that case, after a couple of iterations, a development team comes with technical design. And at this point, we already know how we would like to split the work to implement this new feature. And we also create draft of the stories. So the final technical design is much more complex than it was initially proposed. So we have at least 3 services where conversion from non-payer to payer can happen. We also had to implement some common library which will be used for sending metrics from those services to another service. And that service is used for storing and processing metrics. It's this service is able to store metrics in our system and also transfer it to third-party system. But before that, we also needed to implement some other proxy service, which is using API specific for third-party marketing platform. And at the end, the data can be transferred to marketing platform. So also during that research that we've done, we identified work that should be done. So of course, except research story, we had to implement few services. We had to create a database structure. We needed to implement library to correct metrics. We needed to expose service APIs. We had to set up monitoring, alerting, do some performance and end-to-end testing, and at the end release everything to production. So how our developer's perfect scenario looks like. Like product owner explains main goals and business needs. No technical details are needed at this point at all. And all the business requirements are documented in digestible form, like for example in Miro board. We will have some examples later on. And after that, research story is created to design and plan work on technical level. Based on the research team creates stories together with product owner to reflect all identified work pieces. And at the end, stories are groomed, implementation starts, and work is completed. So what are the pros and cons of that approach? From positives, business and Scrum teams are working hand in hand together on the common goal. Scrum team has a full understanding of business domain they are working on, and architectural design is designed with care. there is no technical depth, and the implementation is more generic, and that project is easier to maintain and easier to extend in the future. What are the cons of this approach is that there is a bit longer development cycle, especially at the beginning of the project, when team takes the time to design architecture and identify needed work pieces. And business might not understand initially why Scrum team needs to be involved at early stage. It might be treated as a waste of time. So to summarize this developer's perfect scenario, we prefer epic stories that contain clear business requirements. We want to understand product features we are working on, and development team will take care of all of the technical details, including design, implementation, and release. And now over to Nico, who is our product owner.
Thank you, Robert. Okay, hello everyone, it's me again. So I'm going to tell you a similar story to what Robert shared with us, but from the product owner perspective. So I really thank you for being here at this time of the day. And I will ask you to walk with me or to be with me in this journey on how we went from this horrible nightmare scenarios in where we're really all stressed and working not in the best possible way to the place where we are right now, a place where our team is rocking it and giving great results. So imagine this. It was a time of chaos, discussions, stress all over the place, miscommunication. We felt that we were trapped in a never-ending loop of problems, and this usually starts like this. So the beginning of our nightmare scenario is that we are contacted as product owners in order to work on a new feature, a new product, whatever it is you want to call it. So we go into that meeting fully ready to be in a constructive discussion, to be able to provide our point of view, to take some point and discuss with the team and see how we can find the best design and solution. The reality is a little bit different, unfortunately. By the time we were contacted, business usually had already their mind set on X feature or X products that they want. And the reason why we're contacted is pretty simple, because they want from us to take that to the development team and to take them how fast can we have this in production and how fast they can interact with this feature. So as the experts, we rush and we start creating stories all over the place. We started driving and getting into the how territory, defining even technical specs, and reality is that we're not the technical experts. There's a reason why we're not developers, right? So at that point in time, we start wondering, like, it would be great if I can have the developers to help me with this, if we can just go into some sort of meetings or discussion and find the best solution. But the reality is a little bit different. We kept them so busy, sprint after sprint, feature after feature, that they do not have time, and we also don't have time to go into those deep discussions and research. And how this usually continues? Well, with all those stories that we created, even the technical ones, we go to the team. We read out the stories, and our goal, what we want from them is, tell me the story points that I need so I can tell how long this is going to be in order to make it, to have that feature ready, and I can tell business, you're going to have this in 5-10 days, whatever it is. But the reality is it's a little bit different over here. We usually do not get those perfect estimates, and the reason for that is we never explain the why. We never explain to the developers, why are we building this? What is the problem we're solving? Why don't we sit down and think about the possible solutions and get the different aspects of it, right? So if we don't do that, there's really no sense of purpose and significance on what we are doing. It's just like, go build this. I'm going to tell you precisely what I need you to build. And I don't know, but that creates a lot of stress. Stress from the developers because they cannot give you a perfect estimate because they don't fully understand the scope of what we're doing. Stress from our side because we need to go to business and tell them, hey, this is going to take X amount of days. And to add another fun ingredient to this mixture is that business comes to us and goes like, hey, when are you going to have this ready? When is it going to be in production? So it's a fun place to be in, right? Well, not really, because this is usually how it ends. So this sense in that we rush, we complete the work, we build whatever it was asked for us to build, but it might be maybe 1-2 days off schedule. It's okay, we brush it off. After all, hey, we built it, right? And it was not so off schedule. So the job gets done, we get ready, we send that victory email, we held that meeting, being super proud of, I'm going to showcase our solution and we're going to shine. Well, then reality hits hard. You go into that meeting, you present the solution, The developers are stressed because they know the type of technical debt we just created and they're going to have to deal with that later. We are stressed and not very happy because we're not impressing anybody with these solutions. It just does the job, but does not impress anyone. So we find ourselves in a loop having to start all over again pretty soon. So we started wondering, is this the right way to do things? Can we do things any differently? And we decided to change. And the reason why we decided to change was pretty simple. It's because we listened. We had several meetings. We have several Scrum ceremonies, including the retrospectives, where you get a chance to listen to your team, to understand from them that if they lack the bigger picture, if they don't know, fully understand what they're building, there's really no chance that they can get that sense of ownership and pride on what they're doing. So you're creating this sense of detachment. And this is really not what we wanted to. We were all really disconnected and working in little silos. So what we wanted to do and what we realized is that, yes, I'm a product owner, Mateusz is a Scrum Master, Robert represents the developers, but we are all a team and we bring different perspectives and analytical skills to the table. So if we can unite and use that not as an obstacle, but as a boost, then it would get us on the right path to success. So that's exactly what we set out to do. So we took a step back and we went back to the fundamentals. So we went back to working collectively, to understanding the problem collectively, to fully getting why are we doing this, what are we doing, how are we going to do it, work as a team. We engaged in collaborative discussions where we made sure that everybody was sharing their point of view, their opinion, their ideas. So we enabled everyone to participate. And we consciously slowed down. So we knew that this madness of rapid development was really killing us and it was really a lot of work in progress. It was not allowing us to see the bigger picture. And we didn't do this alone. As Robert was saying, we needed an ally on this journey. And we started using graphical collaborative tools like Miro boards, if you're familiar with. So what this enabled us to do is to visualize the problem. So it was not anymore just a story, just a Confluence page. It was now a place where we could draw and we can segment the problem in many different stages. So now we were also able to craft user journeys and to understand how the problem was looking from the user point of view in each of the stages. So this enabled us to put plenty of stickers, as you can see in this example over here. It's a real example, by the way, and enabled us to fully see it, have a holistic approach and design better things and more robust solutions. And yes, it does take a little bit longer. So you invest a little bit more time in the beginning, but you get a more sustainable development process, less technical debt, and more robust solutions. So at this point in time, you might be wondering, what about the result? Well, let me tell you, the result for us was really transformative. So not only we were doing better, we were having better products, more robust solutions, but also we discovered a couple things along the way. So we had less technical debt now, as I mentioned before. So that translates into more time, more of our valuable time that we can use in the things that really matter. We also understood that the needs and pain points of our customers in depth. So now we were able to keep them happier and have a better experience. And last and the most important one for me is that this helped unite us as a team. So now we had an environment in which we all can talk. It's transparent, it's collaborative, we bonded, and that was the biggest thing we got. And as a little real-world story, on one of the latest features we built in this way, we recently were tasked to work on something that would help increase the ratings on our company. And within 2 weeks, we got something out there that increased our company's rating by more than 180% in 2 European markets. So maybe at this point in time, you're wondering, what about this? What's going on with this image over here? I'm from Argentina. I have like 3 more years to take advantage of this sort of images. So that's part of the reason why. But also this is a real success story, because Argentina always had like several players and several like geniuses. But the time that they united as a team is the time that they were able to achieve the maximum goal. So I hope this serves as the testament of the collective intelligence and working collectively as a team and how much can you achieve with that. So I'm going to pass the voice to Mateusz, who's going to tell us how this story goes from the Scrum Master perspective.
So when I joined Curate, I was challenged with several stressful questions. How I will train everyone within the team to work in Scrum. How I will convince my organization that it actually works. How I will make engineers with different backgrounds work together. And how I can improve my organization. And you know what? Very early I found out that it's not about me, about the rules, about the events and artifacts. The third part is really about the team. Very early in the process, we realized that there's a fundamental contradiction in Scrum itself. It's a framework, lightweight framework, but still very strict framework. And on the other hand, you have agility, which by one of its values puts always in front individuals and interactions over processes and tools. And this contradiction between lightweight process, but still a process, and interaction and tools made us realize one thing. There are no silver bullets, and Scrum isn't one. So what we decided to do? We decided to treat it only as a basic constraint, not to fall into chaos, but have some basic rules around how we will collaborate and how it will foster our creativity. We decided to be flexible, not to fully follow rules by the book, because it's written in the Scrum Guide, but focus on what matters. We started our collaboration in 2020, so the year of COVID, where there were no general best practices around how we can work effectively in a remote way. So we decided to grow organically by checking what works, following working practices, and resigning from these ones that doesn't work for us. We realized that practices are always local because everyone is different, because every team member is different, and therefore the rules should organically grow with the team. And finally, we decided to adjust the practices to the goals we have, because the most important thing is our customers and the business value we bring, not the rules because they are rules. And we ran several experiments. Those which worked, we switched from a 2-week to 3-week sprint. And for me personally, this was one of the most stressful experiments we ran in our team, because as a Scrum Master, I have never worked in a different sprint than a 2-week one. But this idea came from the team, and we decided to be brave enough to try it, and it worked out great. We increased our velocity by more than 30% by switching to it. We decided to implement this technical grooming or refinement session, so a special meeting for developers where they can share knowledge, discuss technical issues, architecture patterns, solutions to be implemented. We decided that developers will support product owner in creating stories, because it's only our assumption that it's product owner's role to write them. And by working collaboratively on creating the stories, we can share knowledge during this process. Finally, we took a step back from grooming, not treating it as an event that should make several number of stories ready, but as a meeting where certain questions can be asked and answered, or that we need some more time for them to find a way to answer them. And finally, we decided to be brave enough to say no to bad ideas, like the one where you deliver a working solution fast, but take lots amounts of technical depth. And experiments have one feature. Not all of them are successful. And we ran several experiments that didn't work for us. Fixed online socializer was a failure, because it's really awkward to talk to people over online camera when you just know them for a week or two. We failed at showing stakeholders the value of our technical work. Maybe because of the fact that we are speaking totally different languages. Maybe we didn't have enough time to do it, but we're still trying to improve on this one. We do not have a review every sprint, especially when we do not have value that we can show to our stakeholders to keep the value of this meeting and not to have this impression that it's a waste of time. Finally, we failed at finding a standardized way to collaborate with other teams when we have dependencies. Because every team is different, therefore the approach should always be adaptive. Finally, we found out one thing, that today's solution might become your tomorrow's problem. And both on technical level and on the team dynamics level, when you try something and it works, it's great. But it doesn't mean that it will work forever. You should always inspect and adapt on what you're implementing. Finally, we realized that you cannot serve two masters. Just as the Musketeers couldn't serve well both Cardinal Richelieu and King Louis XIII at the same time, you cannot serve Scrum and Agile well at the same time. And you simply need to decide who you will serve first. To summarize, when we prepared for this presentation, we discussed our individual role-based perspectives a lot. After a few meetings, we realized that we are really aligned on them all, and that we both suffered the same in the nightmare scenario we started with, and that we're both enjoying the current ways of working we managed to organically develop. Mostly because of the fact that we all contributed to its creation. And this was also the process of creating the actual team. Thank you so much for listening to us, and we wish you to be part of the team who is just like the Musketeers, where everyone can rely on each other, produce great outcomes, and have this one rule implemented. All for one and one for all. Thank you.